Welcome back to the Let's Talk RV, GCR, and Great Shift. I'm Deb, and Deborah Peach, and we have some very interesting information that we're going to be sharing for the day in this show. And I just want to also let you guys know that I'm being joined here by, once again, Helen. You want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here again. Thank you.
And Helen has been a part of our team for the last couple of years and a very dear friend as well. And then my partner and husband, Scott Bartle.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
And we are coming from you guys. We are coming to you guys live from Australia and different areas of Australia right now. And as many of you know, I was back in the States for quite some time. Sean and I were doing work together, and Sean is now moving on in his endeavors with the different levels that we're at right now with his GCR. He is feeling that it's better that he not really come on board and talk about too much at this time. So honoring his and respecting that. And it's time for us to really go into some transition here because we are at a precipice. We're really at a tipping point with this, and I have some things I'm going to be sharing here in just a moment. I just want to also let you guys know, so today is February 14th in the States. Happy Valentine's Day. What an awesome day to be acknowledging love, whether it's you acknowledging your loving thyself vibration, or whether you are engaged in a partnership and you guys are celebrating love that way, or if you're just with friends and loved ones, not just, but if you're with loved ones and friends and honoring Valentine's Day. I think it should be something that we do like on a monthly basis. Coming up in the New Earth reality that we have Valentine's Day, or at least an honoring of love, at least once a month, and make it a holiday or something. In any case, so it's been an interesting week, I will say that, and we are going to change the show in two ways today. One is I put out very last minute because, to be honest with you, Scott and I are in the middle of determining a major relocation, and we want it to occur within the next couple weeks. So our focus has been on that, and also because we've really been getting the guidance to focus on our well-being and also to prepare for this shift. And one of those elements is to not be in a large city as our main place of residence. The other thing, so in regards to the show, I put out very last minute in regards to what the show title and subject was going to be before we open up the Q&A. And literally within just the last hour, I was working out and I was communicating during the workout while listening to music and doing Pilates. Talk about multitasking, right? So the guidance I got was to actually change the subject matter. Now, for two reasons. One is because the subject that I was going to talk about is about I was going to really go down the rabbit hole of the interference that has been very much creating a delay in this GCR. Now, I definitely want to share that information with you guys. There's some things I'm going to share very quickly that I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole with that subject matter. What we're going to do instead is create, because I'm going to probably move this show from just being a call. I'm going to move it to being an ITV show so that I'm back on video and we can actually have eye contact with the callers if they call in on Skype and different things like that. Scott and I have worked very, very hard since the July. I think it was the end of July when we got the guidance for me to start a show again. And he has put a lot of energy and effort into us having a studio where we have all the bells and whistles for TV and to do live stream. And so rather than just doing it, the subject matter that I was going to talk about. Rather than just doing it on a call, the guidance is to actually do it as a TV show, a video show, and to do it as a panel. So I'm going to have several people join me with the subject. And because it's a very expansive, it's a very intense subject, and I don't think it's actually going to go away right away. The subject I was going to talk about was the good, bad, and ugly of the interference of what is holding this GCR back and the delays. Now, that subject is a very broad subject and definitely warrants quite a bit of insight and going down the rabbit hole, because it's important for us to understand the game that we're in right now and this that we're still in. And I also, with the detailed communication that I get, the telepathic communication, I also have different information than what most people that are channeling have out there. And the guidance is that this is going to even become a more important subject for people to understand. And we have the solutions for you guys if you choose to engage and understand that the interference that we're experiencing, not just with the GCR but on the planet, is both physical and non-physical. And then we get into the whole multidimensional aspect of things. So I'm going to change the subject, and the subject I'm changing it to is to talk about the rites of passage that most people I should say, are experiencing right now, initiations and that subject. And that we even open up for the Q&A, the call lines, if you guys want to share about some of the different things that you might be experiencing that you maybe weren't even thinking that were shareable or important to share. And once you actually hear a little bit more of what I'm about to share here, that you might feel a little differently about that. So the other thing is that because of the time and where Scott and I are, it's our Monday afternoon in Australia, and we just got back from a weekend of house hunting and relocation details, and I've decided, I've gotten the guidance to cut this call down to 1 hour, and that we get to really engage here very intimately and handle it in 1 hour, and that will free up my afternoon, to be honest with you guys, to move on to some of the other things that I really have to get done this afternoon. But also, it's important that we provide the opportunity for you guys to even engage through the Q&A that is beyond just the conversation of the GCR. So let me back up just a tad. And, well, actually, here's what I do want to do. It's just a little bit of housekeeping. So once we open up the Q&A, and I'm going to go ahead and, Helen, you want to go ahead and do that now? So if you guys want to call in, if you've got questions or if you have things that you want to share, *6 is the number to do that. And then the rest of this conversation that I'm going to share with you guys is going to be about the initiations, about with this timeline shift, with this GCR, because this is still very much in regards to what's happening with the GCR. So it's an opportunity for us to engage at a level and a vibration, an understanding that this GCR represents so much for humanity being able to move forward with the great awakening and what's happening with this timeline shift and the separation of the timelines. So the part that I just want to share here is that I got a very detailed communication about 5 days ago from Saint Germain, and that this had to do with the freezing of the GCR, not moving forward, that there had something had occurred. And so here's the other thing that I also want to preface with this. The detailed communication that I received has, it's a very real-time communication. And a lot of this has to do with this contingency plan. Where we're at right now with the GCR very much has to do with a contingency plan for humanity's awakening. and that we are moving into a time of unbridled challenge, potentially challenging situations, and that it's important for people to understand the depth of this what this GCR means for us, for a shifting of the guards, a changing of the guards. And so what the communication was that came through was to tell me that the GCR had been frozen, that it had moved into a status where 2 days prior to that, earlier, let's say a week ago, Monday, the communication I was getting was that it was in pending mode, that it was so close that we could taste it. And then just a few days later, the communication that I was getting is that it had gone into a frozen mode, that it was incomplete. And the reason I asked, well, okay, so what has occurred? Why has it shifted? And the reason that I got is that there are no hands of light to receive this changing of the guards with the money. And what that meant to me is that either the groups that there was something that had to do in the 3D that had to do with money, and that the vibration of the person or the people that it was needing to go through were still not completely cleared from interference. So what I did is I made a call in the middle of the night that night to somebody that I figured would have the insight and the information, and lo and behold, that was confirmed. There was something major that had occurred within the 24-hour period, and that things had gone to the mode of in a holding pattern, freezing, not moving forward. So in the meantime, as we focus on the GCR and focus on a field of light, and that's what we did in the community, is that there has again been a shift. And I tuned in after another phone call this morning, and what I'm being told is that the GCR has moved back into a status of the highest green light, and that it is now moving forward again. So there were things that occurred over the last, I'm going to say 3 days or so, and a lot of this has to do with the final cleaning out of even, well, here's what I will say, is that this had to do with, it had to do at the bank level. And so that there's still a cleaning out. In order for us to be able to receive this money, and that is another reason why I was going to go down the rabbit hole of the interference, that Hey everybody, this is Deb. I just got a message that you guys couldn't hear everything that I was just talking about. I'm sorry about that. It looks like the call was placed on hold and it wasn't being heard. So hold on one second. I'm just checking with my team right now. Okay, yeah, but here's what I'm going to ask you guys. The Q&A line is open, so if you can just *6, please. I've just been talking for the last 15 minutes, and I think that we actually had a little communication glitch. So I'm going to go ahead and start over. Helen, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but I could hear you perfectly, Deb.
I know, was loud and because clear. You guys are in as the dashboard as the host.
My apologies there.
I'm sorry. I did not see, I had not seen that the call had been put on hold. Okay, here we go, you guys. Welcome to the GCR call. We're now, and now that makes sense why the Q&A, we opened up the Q&A at the beginning, and it makes sense that why there wasn't, okay, thank you. I'm just getting a Skype message why people hadn't come into the Q&A. So welcome to the Let's Talk GCR and RV and the Great Shift. I'm Deborah Peach. I'm here with my team, which is Helen and Scott. Helen is a dear friend and has also been a client and student over the last couple of years, and a very important part of our team. Helen, will you say hello, please?
Hi there. Very nice to be here, and my apologies for having the call on hold. I'll smack my own hand, but very excited about today's call. Very excited.
Okay, awesome. And then the other person that's here live with us is Scott, my husband and partner. And I want to say partner in crime, but it's really partner in light. And he is...
I'm glad you made that distinction.
Yeah, right? All right, honey, will you say hello?
Hello.
Okay, and we are coming to you guys live from Australia. All three of us are here in Australia. And Sean is not joining us today, again, because he has signed certain elements and things that are really, it's good for him to stay in integrity with, shall we say. So we honor and respect that, and he's been a wonderful asset to bring you guys information, and I know he's still continuing to do that at some level, but not here. And so he's being very, shall we say, cautious. So it is February 14th in the States. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And hopefully you guys are enjoying the celebration of love in some special way, whether it's over the loving thyself, honoring yourself, loving in a partnership, or celebrating time with family and friends. And I would love to see that we would have some sort of Valentine's Day holiday, at least on a monthly basis. I think it would be great for us to move into the celebration of love in that way. So I want to say thank you for everybody who is here. Thank you for the sharing that everyone here that is a part of our community that is engaging on a regular basis. And I also just want to let you guys know, with the housekeeping, we have opened up the Q&A, that we're going to, as we do open up the lines, it's important for you guys to be very conscientious of your sharing, and that time is of the essence, and that also the since we don't have, we're basically bringing you guys on live, and that it's an opportunity for you to really exercise knowing that you're on air, okay? And obviously this is being recorded, and that it's important for you to be in the consciousness of what we're bringing forth here, and also not take up too much time. Now, what I also want to say is that I've changed the title and the subject that we're going to cover of today's show. And the reason being is because if you saw the post or the design element for today, that the subject was going to be about the good, bad, and ugly of the infiltration or the interference of the GCR moving forward. What the guidance that I just got actually within the last hour is that we are going to cover that subject matter, and we're really going to go down that rabbit hole, which is in a very, very important rabbit hole to go down. But we're going to do it, and rather than doing it on a call like this where there is no visual, we're going to do it as an ITV show where we actually can be seen, and I'm going to do it with a panel so that it's not just me, that there's other people that have had experiences, and also some quote-unquote experts in that information. Now, what I will share is the communication that I've received just in the last week, and it's gone back and forth. And now you guys are used to hearing from Sean, and he talks about a lot of the 3D stuff that's going on, and that's all well and good. And here is the the part that I am bringing forth and that our team is bringing forth more and more is that we're transitioning out of that paradigm where a lot of the drama is playing out, and that we're moving into a timeline where we are establishing a foothold and we're anchoring a new earth reality. Now, here's the thing that I will say in regards to that is that we're in a transition time, and we're only just at the beginning of that transition time. The importance of this GCR at this time is, well, let me just back up. The importance of the GCR, period, is it is a linchpin for us to be able to move past the gatekeepers of control and deception that have held at bay our own awakening as a humanity. And so that is why my team, our team, why all of us, Sean, why we were in Reno, the work that we were being guided to do there, which I cannot share the details of that just yet, but I will tell you it was successful enough that it was important enough that I flew back right after New Year's Eve to continue with the energy work that we were doing there, and then got the guidance that it was completed and that we're now in the process. And I came back to Australia because Scott, through you guys, are now getting more of a chance to meet. We are looking at a very major relocation move in Australia. So we're really focusing on that, and that's also another reason why I'm not going to do. I'm just going to put this out there at this moment. I'm planning to not do a full 2 hours, and I ask for your patience with that. It is our Monday afternoon here, and we have a lot on our plate. So I'd like to go for at least an hour, and then check in to see where we're at with things. The subject matter, and I appreciate your support with that, because we have focused a lot of our life, majority of our life over the last couple of years in this GCR and creating and working with the energies, which I'm not going to get into at this point, working with the energies to really anchor this and stabilize the field for this to come forward. And the reason I'm not going to get into all the details is because there are so many people who are holding a field and holding a space for this. So I wouldn't want it to sound as if it has anything to do with this is because of us. But we have focused most of our entire life over the last couple of years on the focus of this. And the guidance that we're getting now is to really focus on our well-being, because what I'm about to share with you is that first, before I share that, the other thing is the subject matter, I've gotten the guidance just in the last hour to change it. And what I'm changing the subject to, and I'm just going to ask you guys to engage with it if it resonates with you as you're sitting here. There's quite a few people in the queue already, is to talk about the rites of passage that we're in right now. We are at a very, very pivotal changing point, changing of the guards, shifting, and even changing timelines. And each and every one of you, and I've touched upon this in the prior shows and calls and whatnot, and the guidance I got right even before, a half an hour before we started, was to shift gears to talk about the rites of passage conversation. So I tuned in, as I do, and even with Scott and Helen, tuned in, got the guidance to share and talk about that, because we're really moving into a time now where there is going to be significant changes revealed. And each and every one of you are a part of that. And as we get into this rites of passage just a little bit more, I will talk about that. The importance at this time is that we each understand that our Great Awakening has been hijacked. This changing of the money is very much the tool that is going to shift the floodgates to open. Now, what I will share before I go into talking about the rites of passage conversation is that the guidance that I received about 5 days ago. Now, you guys have heard me say I get very detailed communication. It's done in a real-time manner. So the dudes that I communicate with primarily are Saint Germain, Ashtar, Melchizedek, and Yeshua and Metatron. There's other beings, and I won't get into the councils and all of that. But I get very detailed information that gets that there's evidence that shows up in this dimension, and I've been a real stickler about that. So in a tuning in conversation back on my, I'm going to say it was my Thursday, it was your guys' Wednesday in the States. What came through was that there was something that had occurred, that the GCR had now moved into a frozen mode, and that it was now in an incomplete status. Now, let me back up a tad, that a few days prior to that, as I was tuning in with somebody else, and we were actually communicating about several different things. We just said, okay, let's just see what's going on multidimensionally, what's being said in regards to the GCR. And what we both got was the same thing. It's impending. It's so close you can taste it, type of thing. Great. So then a couple of days later, Saint Germain comes in and is communicating that it's been frozen. It's gone into incomplete mode. Now, why did I get that communication? One is because I get detailed communication about a plethora of things, and including people and different things that are going on, because there are so many moving parts and there's so much happening right now. And that's also why I was guided and asked to talk about the rites of passage right now as well. But also so that, at least in our community, what I did was I waited 24 hours. I actually made a phone call in the middle of the night to somebody that I thought would have the information to substantiate what I was getting. And lo and behold, there was something major that had happened. And yes, everything was put on hold. And it has to do, I can't go into the details. And I will say that it had to do at a there were several things that occurred, and it was at a very high level. And it is also why I was going to talk about the infiltration and go down that rabbit hole, and have since gotten the guidance to shift gears on that, because it's shifted again. So I made a phone call this morning and talked to somebody in regards to the status of where we're at with the GCR, and I was told that things started to move forward again. I then tuned in, and what I'm being told by Saint Germain is that we have moved back into the highest level of green light that we can be in at this time. So that's the intel that I have. It's very multidimensional, combined with 3D stuff, and that it's important that we hold in our intentions that we are aligned with this vibration of this new timeline, of aligning with this GCR coming to fruition and being revealed, that is the timeline that is aligned with the betterment of humanity. I'm just asking for each of you to really hold that in your awareness, and that it doesn't matter right now what other drama is going on in regards to the markets and everything else that is dismantling, that is part of the dismantling of the old paradigm, that you hold very intentionally that this GCR is being revealed for the betterment of humanity. And if you choose, and this is why I got the guidance to talk about the rites of passage, if you are choosing to consciously be a part of that timeline, then what's important for you to be aware and understand is that there are things that are occurring, especially if you're listening to this, whether it's live or the replay. There has been some very interesting things, and actually quite painful things, that have occurred for me over the last couple of weeks. And I wasn't even going to talk about it, and I got the guidance within the last hour before the show started to actually talk about a bit of it. And it has to do with the separation of timelines. And what I was being told recently, first of all, why there's been some painful things. Well, to be honest with you, to be transparent and honest, my name is actually being slung around with mud at this moment, and by people that have portrayed that they are friends and that they are that there's been a very close relationship, and I have supported tremendously in all sorts of ways, both with spiritual activations, financially, etc. And so it's been a little challenging, and it has to do with my integrity, which my integrity is quite impeccable. But here's the thing that I was getting from my guides about a week ago, is that I'm being utilized, and I agreed to be utilized as an instrument of initiation, and that there are people that are having an opportunity to, because most of you guys cannot hear your own guides, you're not communicating with your higher self, which has very much to do with the things that have occurred with the energetics of the matrix, the fence, I'm going to just call it a fence of a debilitating fence, and this has actually been scientifically proven, which I'm not even going to get into at this time, but a fence that has created a separation from most people having the ability to go beyond that electromagnetic fence to get clear communication with your higher self and with your guides. So if that resonates with you, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. That the situations that are unfolding around me is that there are people going through, many people, many of you, are going through rites of passage, initiations. And remember back in the day, many of you have recollection of being in Egypt and other lifetimes where we would have initiations to move through the mystery schools and whatnot. Well, right now we're in a modern day mystery school, and it's right here in our present experience. Because we are having a shifting of timelines, and we're having a shifting and a changing of the guards, it's really important for each of us to understand the level of initiations and tests that are being provided for you at this time, that are a little different than what you may have experienced in previous lifetimes in Egypt and other places. And that really what we are being given an opportunity to stay in alignment with is our own Christ consciousness. And continuously, moment to moment, you've heard me say this before, but now I'm actually seeing it around me, where there's dismantling and disengagement of relationships and the situations, and if you might be experiencing this in your life, and that the question that is continuously being put forth is, are you willing to stand in your own experience of staying in alignment with love and light, Christ consciousness, staying out of judgment, staying in a place of wisdom, or are you being or are you allowing your experience to be manipulated, maneuvered, or even unknowingly associated with other people's experiences of something, and then projecting that into your own experience? And you may not know, you may not understand exactly what's being said. There's a lot being said. And that this timeline of us moving into this new experience on the planet, so much of it has to do with our vibration and our intention, as well as our integrity and our willingness to stand in our integrity no matter what. And we are not being guided by other people's experiences to actually create our own experience or feelings about any type of situation. Okay, so I think that is enough at this point for me to share in regards to that if you have questions about that, I think it would be best for you guys to actually queue up in the Q&A and to ask the questions. But it is definitely a different and unique time on the planet right now. And the opportunity that we have here is to really focus on this unified field and to align with your vibration of intention and to really see where you might have blind spots, where you might be projecting judgment that doesn't even have to do with your own experience. And also to see relationships. Sorry, I actually have more to come through. If you see in your life that you might have relationships with loved ones, family, etc., that are really not a vibrational match for you, that you have the willingness to lovingly let go of those relationships and allow them to dismantle. Because this timeline separation that we're only just in the very, very beginning transition of is very unique. And we're moving into a time where it is very much of this is going to be revealed in different events that you're going to get to choose moment to moment. And I do mean major events, moment to moment, for you to choose where are you anchoring your energetic beingness. Okay, Helen and Scott, would you guys like to add to that anyway before we officially go to the Q&A? And by the way, how do I sound? Do I sound any better?
Oh, you sound great.
You sound fantastic.
I was getting the communications that I sounded garbled.
No, you're okay there. And I do have something to add.
Awesome.
Give me 30 seconds, though.
And Helen, would you like to add any of this?
Well, I would just in that 30 seconds, and what you're saying about, relationships changing and our energetic matches changing. And none of it's bad, even though it sometimes looks a bit bad because, change is difficult for a lot of people. Even though we're changing, without change there's no continuance. But change in relationships, change in energetics is a good thing because the universe is continually moving and growing and changing. We're part of that. Why wouldn't that be put upon us as well? So face it with glee and excitement, not anything that it's bad.
Awesome. And sometimes, it can be, change can be challenging.
Definitely.
Okay.
But
Scott, are you there?
Yes. Okay, so the one thing I did want to add to that as a bit of a clarification is that when you say about various relationships may not be in your highest good, I don't think, I know, and I don't want people to take this as you recommending that you write to your family or friends and say, right, relationship's over. It's asking the question of yourself, making those determinations. Is it in your highest good? And if it isn't, notice the if, that you then make the actions and choices accordingly. But you're not staying in a relationship because of obligation or external expectations that, you have to stay in this relationship or that sort of thing, that you're willing to look at it. But you're not, and when I say you, Deb, is not promoting people to go and bust up relationships because she said so.
Right. And exactly. Thank you for clarifying that. And that what we, to just expand that even a little bit more, is that we have been programmed in a big part of our society that because of our blood relationships, that our blood relationships are supposed to be the most important relationships. What I'm actually even suggesting and inviting is for you to identify, oftentimes those blood relationships really actually aren't even in your highest good. And when we do the show on the interference and we really go down that rabbit hole, we'll talk more about this as well. But that there's, as this timeline with this money being reallocated or allocated to humanity, that there may be situations where it is going to bring out very primal aspects of people. And so it's important that you as an individual, that you choose what is in your highest good in all relationships, and not in maliciousness, not in any lack of integrity, but that you are able to make a decision and choose what is in your highest divine good regarding relationships based on your experience rather than just based on even a blood relationship. Does that make sense?
Very much so, Deb. Thank you. And Scott, thank you.
Okay, so let's go ahead. And this still is about the GCR, you guys. I just want you to, not just want, I want to impart that that this GCR has so much more wrapped around it than just money being reallocated to humanity. And that there is, one other thing that I do want to say is that just a reminder that the last time that this money was to be distributed, which was before it became known as the GCR, it became 9/11. So when I say that there is a high probability that we are going to be having major events unfold as this GCR is released, that is what I'm talking about. There were deciding, if you think about the JFK assassination and 9/11, those are two events that we have here in our timeline of our remembrance. I wasn't alive yet, but many people were, and for the JFK, I should say. But they were defining moments for many people on this planet. And there's I'm going to say possibility and probability that we're going to have more of those events coming up, and that I'm hearing the words, this is interesting, I'm to say that this is just to tickle you with that possibility, and that it's important that you remain anchored in love no matter what. All right, let's talk. Let's go to the Q&A.
Okay, Deb, thank you. Our first caller is area code 215.
Hey, this is Kathy in Philadelphia.
I was going to say, I
guess I didn't expect to be called on. You're going to be the first one to be called on. But I just wanted to say that, there's a saying, and we all have our favorites, change is inevitable, growth is optional. And this crowd, this group, which I am brand new to, by the way, within the last month, I just feel like I resonate well to the kinds of questions that are coming in the last couple of weeks. And I miss Sean. I love that he was a real grounded 3D guy with a spiritual anchor. And I love that you have the spiritual anchor and well grounded in the 3D world as well. It feels imbalanced to me. I'm loving it. And I know that we're all, for many, many years, have we not all been going through the changes are inevitable and growing as it's been optional. So I applaud the work you're doing. I support you. I send the light. I put the energy on the Nasara now, the Reval now, the healing of the world's nations, all becoming back to unity consciousness. So there's my thought for the day, and thanks for letting me take a moment. I applaud you, Deb.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And it really is a balance between the 3D and the multidimensional stuff. I don't know if most people know this, but I, for almost 20 years, was a producer in the entertainment industry. And worked my ass off, in the 3D world with that before switching to become like a spiritual teacher, etc. And it is important. We are still existing in the 3D, so it's important to be anchored in both. And it's not an easy path right now for many people because there hasn't been a lot of light available on the planet. So I appreciate you calling in and sharing that, and really thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right, Deb, we have our next caller is from Australia. It looks like a mobile phone ending in 088.
Hello.
Hi.
Everybody.
Who's this?
This is Gareth from Melbourne. Hi, Deb.
Hi, Gareth.
How are you going? Oh, great. Look, firstly, let me just say thank you so much for what you guys do. Phenomenal. There's nothing more powerful than a good idea at the right time, and this just resonates with that thought very, very much so. And everything you're saying today, I just wanted to make the comment that I just look, for me personally, like I said, I think in one of the shares, that this sort of upheaval in inverted commas, it feels like it's coming home to me, because I guess I'm used to it in a sense that I've let, I had a insight I was told to let go of control and just let things happen, because what was communicated to me was, the thing is, I can't see fully who I am and where I am, therefore what needs to happen I don't really understand fully. But the universe is alive and conscious, and I can trust that. And I tell you what, my experience of the last 20 years backs that up 100%. I could write a book, and I've been told to write a book. It's phenomenal. Now, it's my observation that perhaps there are a lot of people coming into the next few years who are going to need people like us just to say that. It's okay. I know it looks bad, but it isn't what you think. Well, am I right? Am I thinking along the right lines?
Definitely. I mean, I even just talked about this in a conversation earlier today, that part of the reason that we're even doing this show and continuing to do what we're doing is because we are here to support those of you who are willing to step forward to be way showers. And that a big part of the community that we have created is, and why we were, and we're relaxing on this a little bit, by the way, the whole you've got to engage to stay. But the reason that we are getting the guidance to call this first level of our community I am engaging is because so many people have been sitting in isolation, and also there hasn't been a lot. We've been, and I was going to actually do a lot more on this, and I will in the future, but we've been sitting in a lot of suspended animation since 9/11.
Yeah.
So people, does that resonate with you, Gareth?
Oh, yes.
It's been very, very difficult and challenging to move forward in our endeavors. And there's a reason. There are reasons for that. And I talked about that in a couple of shows back when we talked about the inversions that were created from 9/11. But right now, we have and here's the other thing too. I know each of you listening to this can look at in your own life, how many of your projects have moved forward? How much are you thriving? Are you doing with resources? And I would say go out on a limb, but I probably don't. It's really not on that far on a limb to say most people have not had the resources to thrive or to really engage with their missions and their life purpose. And if we look back,
ditto to that.
Ditto?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so do you want to share anything about that further?
What just kept coming to me was that the whole premise of civilization is to elevate consciousness out of survival, so that you as a separate individual don't need to fight for survival, in inverted commas, that there's a shared resource that allows you to elevate into higher order thinking. And one of the tools of the dark forces has been to stop that from happening, so that we are all fighting for survival. It stops you from connecting and elevating.
Absolutely.
Essentially, would be my experience.
Absolutely. And you'll have heard me refer to this as the vibration of the mass consciousness is in fear, survival, and those two energetic vibrations, first of all, it is almost impossible to create and manifest when you're in fear and survival. We are meant to be creator beings. We are our divine blueprint as beings of light we are meant to be creating and creators. And when you're in fear and survival, you absolutely cannot engage with the vibrations necessary to manifest and create. So the dark forces that have very much overstayed their welcome and gone beyond what I've been told by my guides contractually meant to occur, and they switched the timeline. They manipulated the timeline with the 9/11 event. We're in an uncharted territory timeline. And it is one of the reasons why so many people have been in isolation, and it's become almost unbearable to even exist and live and thrive. Let's even put hardly thrive. And because the money flow has been depleted. So the two ways that the dark forces, and this is not duality, I'm not emotionally charged by this. And this is where another way for people to understand the difference between duality and where we're at right now. Where we're at right now is, in my opinion, my feeling, and based on the guidance and my own experiences, is that we're existing in a situation where there are dark forces that have become incredibly powerful, that have infiltrated all the systems, the 3D systems, from the courts to the banks to the yada yada, and have been able to energetically contract the money out of the system, as well as create the inversion so that any of us that are of light, it is very challenging based on law of attraction to vibrationally match with that money. So if any of you guys are experiencing, even if you have something, funding, let's say, come to you, if it's almost come to you, the guidance that I got a few years ago is that there is a vibrational mismatch with the current currency.
Yeah,
I know I'm getting into a lot there, right? And that as you as a being of light, that you vibrate and you resonate at a certain frequency, that money, because it's now been inverted and geared towards a vibration of greed and fear and control, is no longer a match for those of us that are beings of light.
Wow.
That's why the GCR is so absolutely vitally important for us to focus on, because it's going to re-release the money. It's going to release the money. It's going to open up the floodgates. But the other thing that's happening with this shifting of this timeline, and we started talking about that a few weeks ago, which is holding this vibration for track 133, that's what we've named it, a new train track, a new timeline, for those of us that choose a vibration of light and love and Christ consciousness to engage with anchoring a new experience. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, totally. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, amazing. I just, I know from my own experience the last 20 years or so, I always had in the back of my mind that there's lots of us all around the world going through the same experience, and it's quite isolating. Yeah. To go with change without getting hung up on the form. That was really important. And then just know that you're on a trajectory, and where you'll be in the right place at the right time. And you don't need to even understand what that is. And when the time was right, we would all meet up, and there will be a lot of power in that. And it's just amazing to me. The GCR just fits the bill, because, like you say, energetically, it's a match in a way that nothing else has been in the external world.
Right.
That's just been my experience. Yeah, trying to sort of be somebody in the world. I always thought it was it was me that had the problem, and I realised along the way, actually, maybe I'm in a system that is problematic, and it's not so much me that's the problem. It's a good thing that I don't fit very well into it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And here's the other thing. When I got the communication several years ago in regards to what was going on with the money, and why so many light workers, and this is, I'm talking back in 2010 is when I started getting the veil was pulled back for me. What you just said is actually what my guides were saying, is that the light workers, and I refer to them, I don't like that word, and I would love to come up with a different word, but the beings of light, those of us that have been working with manifesting for the last 25 years or more, we, when the movie came out, The Secret, if you guys remember that, that came out in 2005, and a lot of my friends and people that I was aware of, or acquaintances with, actually they were in The Secret. The thing that really was challenging for people is seeing, and now I started studying law of attraction back in '89 with Abraham, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. What is important for people to understand and to hear is that those of us that have been aware of law of attraction and how we are to attract and manifest things, is that why it hasn't been working is because of what I just talked about. Now, my guide said to me back in 2010, they said it's important for your friends to understand that law of attraction isn't working because they don't know how to, it's not because they don't know how to work with it. It's not working because there has been an inversion to disassemble it.
Yeah, wow, that's great.
And so many people that have had that awareness for years and decades go, what the frick is wrong with me? Why isn't this working? I must not be doing it right, because we know we create our reality. So then we take it upon ourselves that we're the ones that aren't doing it right, when really there's a fucked up system, excuse my language, that has been implemented to create an inversion and to disassemble the natural and universal laws. To
invert them.
Yep. And now we see the evidence everywhere. You look back in your life, you guys listening to this, you look back in your life over the last 10 to 15 years, and how much have you moved forward? We've been sitting in a suspended animation. That's the words my guides use. And
that's totally my experience.
Go ahead, sorry.
So I was just saying that's totally my experience, yeah. In the physical world.
Right, in the physical world. We can manifest and create all we want in the other dimension, and it has not been able to be brought down. That's a big part of the as above, so below. We're meant to be able to anchor it through our heart's desires and our intentions of creating in this dimension. And it has not been happening. The work that we did in Reno and the details I will be able to share in the coming months is we effectively opened up the creation energies again. That's all I can say. I'm actually already being told, don't say anything more than that. So it's important as you listen to this information that you guys engage with it. There's new possibilities. There are new possibilities for creating and manifesting, but the thing is you have to let go of your coping mechanisms that have been created over the last decade and a half of trying to find your way through a maze. And this is why I say it's important that you understand the game that you're playing, because we've been playing baseball, but the other team has been playing football and tackling us continuously, and we don't even know we're getting tackled because it's non-physical. But it shows up in the physical in depleted health and lack of finances.
Wow. And my wife and I have taken a battering on both those fronts, but we've kind of, held it together. Luckily,
barely, probably.
Yeah, just we've stood by each other in love, because it's the way we met. I mean, we're soulmates, and it really shows. She stood by me, and I've stood by her, and that's because we can see perhaps that there's a deeper story going on. But there are plenty of our friends that haven't survived it, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And as we move forward with these different changes on the planet and the upheaval, we're only at the beginning of the upheaval. That's important to stand by the people that you resonate with and to create those partnerships and anchor that.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, that's sort of what I was asking. I can feel it happening in the community already, just starting to get this sort of network of people all around the world who kind of understand what you just said, and we're kind of looking out for each other, it feels like to me. Yep,
absolutely. Absolutely. And back to the beginning of what you were saying, and then we'll move on. In regards to leaders, definitely there are a necessity for new way showers and new leaders to reveal and to come out of the woodwork and isolation and to support through this transition. It's not an overnight thing that we're about to experience.
Yeah.
So if it resonates for you guys, one of the things you can do is come and be a part of our community. Membership is still paused because we still are in our own figuring things out mode. But that is one of the intentions of this community, is to support you guys as to become way showers and global leaders, even if it's in your own community or wherever you choose to be in a given moment. So, Gareth, I'm looking forward to more conversation with you in the very near future.
Likewise, Deb, and thank you, everyone. Scott, Sean, Helen, all the beautiful people I'm connecting with. Yeah, amazing. Love to everyone.
Thank you. Love to you as well.
Thanks
for jumping in here, too.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Deb, our next caller is area code 916.
Hello.
Hi, this is Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia.
How are you? How's everyone?
Good. Very good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I had quite an experience on Thursday night. First, I want to say that on the 23rd of January, I had an experience where I was sitting quietly in my den, and all of a sudden I had this vision of a curtain being pulled, apart, and I looked into this picture and was captivated by it, and I had a sense of peace and serenity and joy and well-being and certainty, and I stayed with that feeling all day. I was mesmerized by it. I was blown away by it. I didn't really know what it was. And then I had an experience this past Thursday night. I had a visitation. 2 ships arrived at my home. And at first I panicked. And when I started to panic, the ships pulled away. They started to leave. And then I called them back. And I was looking out the window. I was running back and forth. This was an out-of-body experience because I woke up in the middle of the night. And I called them back, and then I opened up the front door, and 2 men popped into the house. And we sat down at the dining room table, and I held one of the men in my vision, and we were telepathically communicating. And the conversation was about trust. And I looked him right in the eyes, and my question was, can I trust you? Is this real? Can I trust you? And I got my answer, and the answer was yes. And today, I realized who my visitor was, and the visitor was Jesus. Telling me that everything was okay, that I did not have to worry about anything. And I got an email a couple of days ago, and in the subject line it said private exchange. And I got really nervous and I opened it up. It was a LinkedIn email, but I think the fact that it said private exchange in the subject line was very intriguing. And so I am holding this GCR and the RV in my heart, in my mind, and I am wanting it to come forward. I'm asking it to come forward for myself and for everyone. And I want to thank all of you for showing us that we can hold this in our hearts and we can overcome that the message and the feeling and the intention and attention of love for self, of love for humanity will always overpower any evil that is lingering and wanting to hang on.
Awesome.
What's really been important for me is, and what I have been shown, is to be really quiet, to listen with an open heart, be present, be available for messages, for those little things that happen, like this, the email that came with the subject line of private exchange. Be discerning, pay attention, and wait with great expectation and with an open heart, and it will come. It's on its way. We will be blessed, and we will be able to bless others. What you have shown me, and what your website has shown me, and what the people who go to the website in our community and comment, is that this situation, the GCR and the RV, this gift, is very, very, very serious. This is a serious responsibility, a serious gift that we are going to be given, that we have already been given. And we need to pay attention to what we're supposed to do with it, to be a way shower. We have been called to be a way shower and to be stewards. And we need to take this very seriously and pray and think and wait, especially wait for the instructions. Wait for the instructions. I have my list. I have my list of people. I have my list of things that I want to do, but that might not be what I'm going to be instructed to do.
Absolutely.
And I want to be open for that. So I thank you again for all that you do. I have deep, deep, deep gratitude and love in my heart for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. And what you're saying in regards to the stewardship is absolutely spot on. And the thing, too, that I also want to say is that, we are in a very unique situation with this transition. And I have not been very vocal about this, and I certainly don't want this to be taken as fear. But I think, and what I think and feel is that what you were just saying in regards to wait for instruction is exactly what we have gotten the guidance to do, is that we're actually we're shifting our trajectory a little bit right now based on the current communications, and that we don't know. I want the banks to prove their trust, because so far in the past, and I don't want to bring the past and the old paradigm into this, but I also want to be a smart bunny. so far, those banks had been set up for the fiat system and for the not so honest engagement. For the debt, and actually, Scott is just IMing me. Scott, if you want to come on and talk about that at all. Actually, no, we don't even need to go into it, but he's just saying for the debt slavery system. And so it's going to be very important for us to be cautious, I believe, and I do not mean this in a fearful way, that as we move forward with exchanging and money and things like that, that we just are really smart bunnies as we go down this new rabbit hole and make sure that these systems and whatever is being put in place, because I'll be honest with you, the information that I just got in the 3D in the last week did have to do with banks not being honest. And I can't go into any more detail than that, but it was at the bank level. So it's really important, I agree with you, Cynthia, to just really be aware and discerning.
And we're entering into a dimension that we've never been in before. We don't know the rules of the game, just like you were talking about before. So paying attention and being led. This is not a time to feel like we know what we're doing and, go in and sit down and negotiate and, expect this or expect that or expect to have any kind of outcome with a 3D mindset. So
right.
Paying attention and going in with our guides, going in with Jesus or whomever you call your guides to go in with Archangel Michael and Archangel Melchizedek and Jesus and our white angels and our guides and our warriors. We have to do that. I know that this is the information that I've been receiving. I've got to go in with an open heart, but I have to be discerning and I got to be a smart bunny, like you say.
Absolutely.
Because this is not our money.
Yeah.
This is not
mine. We
are
the stewards for this.
I have a question for you. What do you make of the portal opening and my visitation?
Oh. I think it was awesome, and I'd like you to, just to remind me in the community, because obviously you've been opened up for multidimensional experiences, and just remind me, please, when in the community, who you are.
Okay. I will do that. Thank you.
What do I make of it? I think that these are the type of experiences that we're meant to be having, and that they have been held at bay for the most part. What you experienced is a daily occurrence for me. But I am not. I spent years isolated in Mount Shasta and Ashland to get to this place. And I also had the veil pulled back for me in a very unique way, because the guides that I'm working with are basically, they were saying to me, like, we're trying to figure it out. Things are a mess. So in any case, what you just, and it's important, and I have a feeling, are you working with the Clearing Your Field tool?
Yes.
Okay. I kind of knew that. And how long have you been working with it?
For about a month now.
Okay. Because it's an activation and because of what that actually does to clear your field, those type of experiences are normal. We haven't even officially done the real information of the value and the extent of the shifts that people have that experience with those Clearing Your Field tools, especially the Mastery Clearing Your Field tool. I was going to get into that today when I was talking about the interference, but I didn't. The type of experience that Cynthia just shared, I'm pretty sure occurred because you're clearing your field, because you've been working with the activation within the clearing, and it's opening. You're in this unified field. You're in the community. We are going to be experiencing many more of those type of experiences at this level. the people that are really engaging, and that's why we're asking you guys to engage also, because we can't tell you everything. We have a very high level of integrity that we're working with in order to not put out too much information at once. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
So it's up to you guys to engage. It's up to you guys to engage and to also work with the tools that are so far being made available, including the free one, which is the Melchizedek Heart Chakra Activation, Flower of Life Heart Chakra Activation.
Yes, that's lovely.
Yeah. So, I think it's, I was smiling as you were sharing it with me, and Yeshua is very, very powerful Ascended Master, and he, I believe, is going to be making many more appearances as well as other Ascended Masters as well.
Woo-hoo!
So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Okay, Deb, our next caller is area code 516. That's area code 516.
Great.
Hello, Deb. This is Cheryl in Belmore. How are you? Hi, Helen
Cheryl.
and Scott.
Good.
I kind of went blank as soon as I heard that I could ask my question. I got excited and nervous at the same time. I cannot remember for the life of me what I wanted to ask. I think it had something to do with interference and how best we can invert the inversion.
Okay. It's a pretty loaded question. Just the interference. Now, Cheryl, are you a part of the community?
Yes, I am. And I have the clearing of the field. Yep.
Okay. All right. I'd rather not get too much into the interference right now. I'd like to actually save that for an entire show. Okay. It's a huge subject, and it's very loaded for people emotionally because it is something that is affecting us, most people at every level, physically, non-physically, financially, etc. The first thing I would just say, if you are interested in engaging with that and have any type of awareness, we have tools available, experiential tools on the website that specifically are mastering, clearing your field of entities, ceremony rituals, projections from other people, abrogations of free will, all sorts of things, and they're incredibly powerful. And I've been somewhat hesitant to talk about them because I don't want to be all salesy, and yet at the same time, people have very profound experiences working with them.
Yes, I actually have all four of the clearing of the fields, tools, and I do use them. But for some reason, I feel like I'm stuck in amber, and it probably has a lot to do with what you were talking about earlier with the whole inversions and everything. So I was wondering if there was a more active role I could take. But if the clearing of the fields is what I need to be doing, then I'll just continue doing that.
And the next thing is to be aware that things are changing. There's energies now available, especially as you engage proactively and with an awareness with this unified field. Engage, and I'd like to hear back from you in the next couple of weeks. Engage with things that you may have put on the shelf, all of you. Begin engaging with those heart's desires that you may have put on the shelf, and over the last several years or decade or whatnot, and see how much of them can now be grounded and begin to come into fruition and manifest, and continue to work with them that are in alignment with your highest divine good. If you're not working with one of the clearing tools, I just highly recommend going over to wakingupwithdeb.com and getting one.
I love them.
What's that?
I said I love them. I especially the one I was so excited when you put on the ones, the good morning and the going to bed, the nighttime one, because I was having a lot of very disturbing sleeping issues, and that's made a tremendous difference.
Cool, awesome.
They are.
Yeah, we have.
They are fantastic. Sorry, Deb.
Indeed.
They are fantastic. They're just fantastic. That's it.
So what Cheryl's just thank you, Helen. And what Cheryl's just talking about is the tools include master clearing your field. That's the first one. Then there's a 3-bundle series, and that is when you wake up in the morning, it's the clearing of and setting your intentions for the day, and it's also a Merkaba activation. Just the second one with that is setting your intentions for night and clearing your field when you go to sleep, so that you're not having an abrogation of your free will in your dream time, your experiences when you're asleep. And then the third is an emergency break glass Scott did, which is very powerful and awesome. That is having to do with when you've had like a toxic conversation with someone, etc. And they're all experiential, and they're all meant to be used as training wheels. So that you engage with that, with the words, the activation energies, and then you're also brought into alignment with this unified field, so that you can then begin to engage with your I am presence in a way that you may not have been either taught or know how to, but they're very, very powerful. I will say that, and I've been very humble in not talking about them too much. But quite honestly, it's I think it's time. People have asked, and it's time for them to be aware of them. The inversions are being cleared. And especially with this new timeline, that's a big part of the work that we're already engaging with in the behind the scenes, but we're going to be engaging with a lot more post-GCR.
Okay. Yeah, I was kind of.
Thank you for.
I was kind of hoping that by now I'd be able to have communication with my higher self, in a more just direct way, But I guess that knowingness when I have it will have to do for now.
And it takes time.
And yes, it does. Well, thank you so very much for your time, and I appreciate everything that you guys do, and light and love to everybody.
Thank you, Cheryl, and lots of love to you.
Okay, Deb, our next caller is 713, area code 713.
Hello?
Hi.
Hello? Oh, you can hear me now, right? Yeah. My name is Tran, and please be patient. I have an accident. My question is, I listening to so many internet things, but most of them is nothing happened, and after a while I'm so disappointed, and I thought I avoid the mainstream news because they don't say much of the truth. I thought I'd turn into the internet, and I've been followed for a long time, and nothing is to come out right. Everything they say is that nothing come out. I listening to even David Wilcock and Tolek. That's for the ET side, and the other one for the GCR Zap or Hoop or Tony, and then they just are a circle. They say this thing this time, and then last year they already saying it's going to happen, and some people get involved, and they just go around and around and say nothing happened.
Can I jump in?
And then now I listen to you. I just want you have a better source I am 3D, but I think you maybe have some kind of a 5D or whatever information that needs to be listening to it and have some kind of real thing? So that's my question. I don't know. I really don't know what happened because I look at the reality on the banker, on the big dog, on the Cabo. They don't want anything happen. They just want the same old way. They've been controlled this planet for, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 1,000 years. And then right now, they're still very powerful. So I say that they try to create World War III, so much painful going on. So I just wonder if you have any idea about the way I think.
Let me jump in.
Thank you.
All right. And what is your name?
Hello?
What is your name?
Huh? Excuse me?
Okay. Okay. No, I was just asking you, what is your name?
Hello?
Okay.
Hello?
Okay, so Tran?
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay, very good.
I just turned off the speakers.
All right. So here's a quick response to what you're asking. My guidance, my awareness is that this GCR has been interfered with in various ways. One is there's been timeline manipulation. The other thing is that the powers that be, that were, whatever you want to refer to them as, they never wanted this to see the light of day. As soon as it got out in a public way, they never wanted it to see the light of day. The other thing is that, this might relate, you might be able to relate to this. We've been experiencing what my guides refer to as, did you ever see that movie Groundhog Day?
No,
we've been experiencing a, within this timeline manipulation, we've been experiencing a loop. It's like Groundhog Day. And if any of you guys listening to this can relate to that, it'll be interesting to hear your feedback, even when we put this up on the YouTube, to go over and comment about that when we put it up on the YouTube channel. What we've been experiencing is a loop like a Groundhog Day. And this is where it gets into very, quantum physics. It gets into some really odd stuff. And the interference has continued not only in the energetics, and this is why I'm going to with the team really do an expanded version of this in this show that having to do with the interference aspect of things, is that it's an energetic, it's non-physical, and there's also then the physical. So what we have been having to do, and on the thousands of people that have been working behind the scenes, it's necessitated getting in under the hood in ways that this entanglement needed to occur, the disentanglement needed to occur. It's also why there's a plan B that needed to be implemented a few years ago, why BRICS got involved, why there's a new banking system, the Babylon 2 banking system, the SIPs rather than, and that is the equivalent of the SWIFT system. There have been monies that have been held back because the system, hacking or whatever, has been interfered with and has been basically infiltrated in ways that money couldn't move forward. So we've been in a mess. And basically dire straits is what I'm being told right now. And that's why it's important that we each anchor continuously in this is done, and at the same time still go on with your life and your lives and engaging with life rather than sitting in isolation and waiting mode. And we're dealing with a lot of things that need and necessitate us going down the rabbit hole of understanding the depth of deception and even artificial intelligence and all sorts of, and even ET stuff that has been at play in this one situation, because the gravity of this changing of the guards is so imperative. It's going to change everything in the way that we're existing on this planet. It's been a very challenging roller coaster, and that's why I refer to you guys, those of us in the know, as the 1%ers. Because many of us have been willing to go down the rabbit hole of the deception to understand how and why all this could have been influenced so strongly of not occurring. I will say, though, based on the guidance that I'm getting, is that we are very much looking at we're in the final bits and final aspects of this actually coming into fruition, into the physicality of our experience. I hope that helps, Tran.
Yeah, because I'm more like a regular person, like a 3D, but I know that you have some kind of like a 5D or something like that, so you can't see the thing is more clear than I see. I just look at here. Because I see the banking system on the money system is I think that they have a 13 family. I don't want to mention the name, but the reality, the real thing. People just think that somebody push the button. There is no button to push for change anything. I mean, I'm not worry about the REE or the GCR, because right now I look at the TV, I see 1 million people go out of the country for refugee, and so painful and everything so messy, and then those control people, they helping to create that atmosphere. That's a man-made. They doing. So I just wonder if anything can change it to helping out for the whole planet, for the human thing, So, but I think the CGR, the RV happened. That's the first step. A lot of people think that when they have a lot of money, they can do the good thing. But I think that thing happened. So many things will be follow it. The floodgate open, because there's so many new technology is already exit, but they just spread it. I talking about the real world, I don't think about anything. I don't know anything about the 5D or 3D thing. But for the ET thing, since the United, since the President Eisenhower, he already connected the ET. But I think that the ET, on the best side right now, ET, I know that they have 1,000 different ET, but the one doing with the human
we'll
right now.
We'll definitely get in. Yeah, and Tran, I'm going to ask for us to move on because we have a couple more. We have quite a few callers, and I'm going to go ahead and end this the show here soon. So I just would like to ask. Yeah, thank you for sharing. The ET stuff, we'll definitely get into that in upcoming shows. There's quite a lot for people to understand that I don't think dots have been connected with and about necessarily in certain ways. So we'll definitely get into that. And I hope that some of this information is helping you to understand that there is so much at play right now. And thank you for being present for all of this here.
Thank you.
All right. Much love to you. Okay, so we have Helen has to jump because she's got a prior commitment, and I was actually planning to only do this for an hour. And since we had that little mess up at the beginning, we're over the time that she had committed to. So Helen, do you need to say goodbye at this point?
Yes, I do. But I just wanted to say thanks very much for all the sharing that everybody's done, and it's just so astounding that in each person's individual way, it continues to prove that we are all in this together. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Deb, and I will catch you on the next call. Thank you.
Awesome. Helen, you rock. Thank you for being in our lives. And I look forward to you guys being able to meet Helen and Scott and other players of our team as well in the very near future. Helen, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, lots of love. Okay, what I would like to do is I'd like to just go ahead and do about another 10 or 15 minutes or so. So, and I know that's going to, we're not going to get through everybody that's in the Q&A at this point. So what I would like to do is go to the area code 219. You are now live.
This is Ken D. from Northwest Indiana.
Hi. Are you a regular?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Thanks for being here, Ken. What's on your mind and in your heart?
Okay, my question is, I bought a friend of mine, I gave him the money. He brought me some Vietnamese dongs. I don't have the receipt, so when it comes down to exchanging, or if the IRS wants to see those, how do I go back? How do I go by getting some kind of affidavit saying that, somebody else brought these for me, just in case?
Okay, well, here's a question for you. And remember, I'm not a financial advisor, and we don't know what's going to occur until we actually get into the exchange process, right? There's a lot of hearsay. There's a lot of speculation, conjecture, et cetera, right?
Right.
Okay. My first question to you would be did you say that you gave him the money, so it's not an actual gift?
Yes, I gave him the money because when it first was brought to my attention, I didn't know how I didn't know how to go by getting it.
Got it.
So
right.
Well,
so in your newbie way, you gave him some money, he bought you some currency, and now you don't have the receipt for it.
Right.
Okay. Do you know where the purchase was made? Was it made at an exchange center? Was it made through one of the companies like Sterling or another company?
No, it was made. He brought them through a bank.
Okay. Can you, I would suggest that you actually go to the bank and ask, they should have the transaction ID.
Okay.
Right? Did that person go into the bank and actually pay cash for it?
Yes.
And because my awareness back in when I was ordering from Wells Fargo, I had to order it. They didn't readily have it available. So I would see if there was it placed as an order, or was it placed by in an over-the-counter conversation kind of thing?
Well, I think he said he ordered them. They came about maybe a couple of days later.
Right. So I would start doing some investigative work and finding out, and then going back to the branch and going and seeing if there's a way for you to identify the transaction through the order, etc.
Okay. So I would need
And at the same time, it may not even be an issue.
Okay.
We just don't know until we actually get into the exchange process, right?
Right. Because all of the rest of my currency I bought, I've gotten receipts for them because I bought them from eBay.
Sure.
And and I made copies of them, so I'll have a set. Then if they need them, I'll always have an extra set.
Right. Yep.
But it was
very
just
wise.
These particular ones that I was kind of concerned about.
Right. Well, I would just see if there's a way for you to go back and see if you can get the bank transaction. If you know the date, if he ordered it through his account, because I had to order it through my account, right?
Right.
And this is really good practice for anyone who's listening to this, because you might be required. So we just have to, again, be engaging with being smart bunnies and going back and doing the legwork necessary as we engage with the exchange process.
Okay. Okay, well, that was my question for the day. But thank you for taking my call. That was my question for the day.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for being here, and much love to you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Yes, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do, let me see, two more, sorry. This one is another Aussie. I recognize it from the okay, the last four digits or the last 171.
Hi,
You're
Deb.
chuckling already.
How are you? Down in Budbury.
Hi, Adam.
How are you going? Resonating quite strongly with a lot of the stuff you're sharing there this morning too.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
It's the question, I suppose, is the one about our contact, and I think the community is the place for that. But to be able to get people more in tune with each other, sort of steps to take, the clearing the field tools and the activations, all very powerful tools, and using them very regularly and loving them. Just trying to reach out, I suppose, to find out how further we can integrate, I suppose, with everyone else that's involved with what we're doing.
Okay.
Words of advice you have on that?
I actually, as I've indicated, and I've put it on hold for the last couple of weeks because of travel and house hunting and things like that. I'm going to do a call and give you guys a heads up of some of the different things that we're going to begin to offer through the community, and ways to be able to integrate more of the relationships and build more of the just basically build more of the relationships. So does that answer your question? And there's more tools that are going to become available, tools that I actually created months and even years ago that I'm going to start offering again.
Yeah, no, that's sort of what we're looking for, where to move forward from this. We sort of seem to be still in a holding pattern of sorts to get to a certain point to try and move forward from there.
It's coming. One of the next tools that I'm going to make available is a brand new tool that I haven't made available, which I did a couple months ago. It was from Melchizedek again, and it's a seal of self-integrity activation. And that has to do with people being aligned with their own self-integrity, which so much of it has gone to the wayside, I think, for many people, because they haven't been aligned with their heart's desires. And so now it's an opportunity to re-engage with heart's desires and what's really where are you really with integrity with yourself.
No, it sounds
your
good.
well-being.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. And Adam, thank you. Well, and I just want to acknowledge you and the other guys, especially in the community. The Divine Masculine that's been showing up has been freaking awesome. We're gonna really acknowledge all of that with both the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine. So, for those of you that are not part of the community that would like to be a part of the community, we will reopen membership. I'm going to say within the next. I don't want to put a date on it, but in the next week or so. And we're at February 14th right now in the States. So we're looking at about the 21st or so. So thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Deb. We'll stay in touch.
All right. And we shall. All right. Lots of love to you. All right.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so this is the last call I'm going to do, and I really appreciate everybody, your patience. I appreciate you being a part of all of this, and you guys are really the ones making this up, creating this. The ones that call in, no matter what you think in regards to if you don't have a question or if you don't maybe think you have something important to share, I would just like to invite you that you would be actually probably might be pleasantly surprised that you do have something to share. And I want to encourage you that for the upcoming shows, and that even especially when we go to the ITV rather than just the phone call, that you have the opportunity to engage in ways maybe that you wouldn't have been comfortable with a few weeks ago. All right, so I have the caller, which is area code 916.
Hi, Deb. This is Janice in Sacramento.
Hi.
I'm so grateful for what you've been saying today, and I have been through almost everything, including the Groundhog Day experience. It's just been, I've resonated so much with everything you've said, and I want to say thank you.
Well, I'm glad that I can put some words to your experience or some background to your experience.
Thank you. It's been a real ride.
It has, hasn't it? It's been quite an anomaly of an experience, and I think when people start to really engage with that we are in such an uncharted territory scenario that you don't blame yourself. It's really important. Because most of those spiritual tools that we learned decades ago, and I can say decades because for me it's been almost 30 years, we kind of have to throw the baby out with the bathwater and start fresh and start new.
Absolutely. Everything's changed.
Yep.
It's different.
Very much. Did you do you have a question, or is there anything else that
I would
you'd like
to ask you? Maybe how often should we use the clearing tool, the master clearing?
Every day.
Okay.
Scott and I. Every day.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, I mean, the information on those tools came to me years ago, and still to this day, Scott and I, and when Scott and Helen and I do our work together, we clear every single time we start a major conversation and tuning in.
Perfect.
Now we don't use the recording because we created it, but you get my drift.
Absolutely. Yeah, you already just do it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've had business meetings with Foster and Kimberly Gamble, and sitting in their home, and I go, okay, let's clear before we start the meeting, and they laughed and they're like, well, we know Deb's in the house, because they've already had, we'd had prior conversations, so it's kind of, people have gotten used to it.
It's a good thing.
Whether it's a business conversation, a session, a meeting, I clear the field and set the intention. And this is something that I'm not into big ceremony, right? I'm not, in my whole spiritual journey, I have not been into ceremony for me personally. But I have definitely been a stickler when it comes to the clearing of the field, because I see how absolutely vital. No, wait, let me change that. I see the evidence every single time there's been some weirdness, that it straightens up, whether it's technology, whether it's an energy in the field, etc. And this, as we move forward as multidimensional beings, we've got to be able to have a relationship with our energy field, our physical vessel and our energy field that's around us.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. I can see that.
Cool.
Yeah. So
all right.
You.
So shall we end this call with a whole GCR, Reno, and all of this coming into fruition?
Yes. Yes.
Would you like to close that out with an intention? And we can barely hear you, so if you could speak into your phone even closer.
Yes, an intention to have clarity and really just feel the authenticity of the self, of us, and be who we are authentically.
Awesome. And for the GCR to reveal itself in this time-space continuum, and for us to align, additionally, that we each align with that time-space continuum and timeline of that GCR coming into fruition for the betterment of humanity.
Absolutely.
So thank you for being our last caller and for participating and engaging. Thank you to everybody. Scott, would you like to jump in and say anything? No, he just IM'd me. He said no. Okay, yep, he's actually multitasking and is in another meeting as well. But present because he just IM'd with answering the question. All right, everybody, you guys, thank you. Remember that we are in this together. Remember that the most important relationship is that loving relationship with thyself, and that it's also a time for us to be aware of all of the different initiations and tests and the things that are showing up in your life that are going to continuously ask, are you sure you're anchored in love? Are you sure you're anchored in love? And keep giving you the opportunities to make that choice for yourself and for the betterment of humanity. And so it is. All right, everybody, thank you so much. This has been Deborah Peach with the GCR RV. Let's talk GCR and RV and Great Shift. And I look forward to engaging with you guys again next week. So much love. Namaste. That is beyond just the conversation of the GCR. So let me back up just a tad. And, well, actually, here's what I do want to do. It's just a little bit of housekeeping. So once we open up the Q&A, and I'm going to go ahead and, Helen, you want to go ahead and do that now? So if you guys want to call in, if you've got questions or if you have things that you want to share, *6 is the number to do that. And then the rest of this conversation that I'm going to share with you guys is going to be about the initiations, about with this timeline shift, with this GCR, because this is still very much in regards to what's happening with the GCR. So it's an opportunity for us to engage at a level and a vibration, an understanding that this GCR represents so much for humanity being able to move forward with the great awakening and what's happening with this timeline shift and the separation of the timelines. So the part that I just want to share here is that I got a very detailed communication about 5 days ago from Saint Germain, and that this had to do with the freezing of the GCR, not moving forward, that there had something had occurred. And so here's the other thing that I also want to preface with this. the detailed communication that I receive has, it's a very real-time communication. And a lot of this has to do with this contingency plan. Where we're at right now with the GCR very much has to do with a contingency plan for humanity's awakening. And that we are moving into a time of unbridled potentially challenging situations, and that it's important for people to understand the depth of this what this GCR means for us, for a shifting of the guards, a changing of the guards. And so what the communication was that came through was to tell me that the GCR had been frozen, that it had moved into a status where 2 days prior to that, earlier, let's say a week ago, Monday, the communication I was getting was that it was in pending mode, that it was so close that we could taste it. And then just a few days later, the communication that I was getting is that it had gone into a frozen mode, that it was incomplete. And the reason I asked, well, okay, so what has occurred? Why has it shifted? And the reason that I got is that there are no hands of light to receive this changing of the guards with the money. And what that meant to me is that either the groups that there was something that had to do in the 3D that had to do with money, and that the vibrations of the person or the people that it was needing to go through were still not completely cleared from interference. So what I did is I made a call in the middle of the night that night to somebody that I figured would have the insight and the information, and lo and behold, that was confirmed. There was something major that had occurred within the 24-hour period, and that things had gone to the mode of in a holding pattern, freezing, not moving forward. So in the meantime, as we focus on the GCR and focus on a field of light, and that's what we did in the community, is that there has again been a shift. And I tuned in after another phone call this morning, and what I'm being told is that the GCR has moved back into a status of the highest green light, and that it is now moving forward again. So there were things that occurred over the last, I'm going to say 3 days or so, and a lot of this has to do with the final cleaning out of even, well, here's what I will say, is that this had to do with, it had to do at the bank level. And so that there's still a cleaning out. In order for us to be able to receive this money, and that is another reason why I was going to go down the rabbit hole of the interference, that because it's a very expansive, it's a very intense subject, and I don't think it's actually going to go away right away. The subject I was going to talk about was the good, bad, and ugly of the interference of what is holding this GCR back and the delays. Now, that subject is a very broad subject and definitely warrants quite a bit of insight and going down the rabbit hole, because it's important for us to understand the game that we're in right now and that we're still in. And I also, with the detailed communication that I get, the telepathic communication, I also have different information than what most people that are channeling have out there, and the guidance is that this is going to even become a more important subject for people to understand. And we have the solutions for you guys if you choose to engage and understand that the interference that we're experiencing, not just with the GCR but on the planet, is both physical and non-physical. And then we get into the whole multidimensional aspect of things. So I'm going to change the subject, and the subject I'm changing it to is to talk about the rites of passage that most people I should say, are experiencing right now, initiations and that subject. And that we even open up for the Q&A, the call lines, if you guys want to share about some of the different things that you might be experiencing that you maybe weren't even thinking that were shareable or important to share. And once you actually hear a little bit more of what I'm about to share here, that you might feel a little differently about that. So the other thing is that because of the time and where Scott and I are, it's our Monday afternoon in Australia, and we just got back from a weekend of house hunting and relocation details, and I've decided, I've gotten the guidance to cut this call down to 1 hour, and that we get to really engage here very intimately and handle it in 1 hour, and that will free up my afternoon, to be honest with you guys, to move on to some of the other things that I really have to get done this afternoon. But also, it's important that we provide the opportunity for you guys to even engage through the Q&A. We are going to change the show in 2 ways today. One is I put out very last minute, because to be honest with you, Scott and I are in the middle of determining a major relocation, and we want it to occur within the next couple of weeks. So our focus has been on that, and also because we've really been getting the guidance to focus on our well-being and also to prepare for this shift. And one of those elements is to not be in a large city as our main place of residence. The other thing, so in regards to the show, I put out very last minute in regards to what the show title and subject was going to be before we open up the Q&A. And literally within just the last hour, I was working out and I was communicating during the workout while listening to music and doing Pilates. Talk about multitasking, right? So the guidance I got was to actually change the subject matter. Now, for 2 reasons. One is because the subject that I was going to talk about is about I was going to really go down the rabbit hole of the interference that has been very much creating a delay in this GCR. Now, I definitely want to share that information with you guys. There's some things I'm going to share very quickly that I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole with that subject matter. What we're going to do instead is create, because I'm going to probably move this show from just being a call, I'm going to move it to being an ITV show so that I'm back on video and we can actually have eye contact with the callers if they call in on Skype and different things like that. Scott and I have worked very, very hard since the July. I think it was the end of July when we got the guidance for me to start a show again. And he has put a lot of energy and effort into us having a studio where we have all the bells and whistles for TV and to do live stream. And so rather than just doing it, the subject matter that I was going to talk about, rather than just doing it on a call, the guidance is to actually do it as a TV show, a video show, and to do it as a panel. So I'm going to have several people join me with the subject. And welcome back to the Let's Talk RV, GCR, and Great Shift. I'm Deb, and Deborah Peach, and we have some very interesting information that we're going to be sharing for the day in this show. And I just want to also let you guys know that I'm being joined here by, once again, Helen. You want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here again. Thank you.
And Helen has been a part of our team for the last couple of years and a very dear friend as well. And then my partner and husband, Scott Bartle.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
And we are coming from you guys. We are coming to you guys live from Australia and different areas of Australia right now. And as many of you know, I was back in the States for quite some time. Sean and I were doing work together, and Sean is now moving on in his endeavors with the different levels that we're at right now with his GCR. He is feeling that it's better that he not really come on board and talk about too much at this time. So honoring his and respecting that. And it's time for us to really go into some transition here because we are at a precipice. We're really at a tipping point with this, and I have some things I'm going to be sharing here in just a moment. I just want to also let you guys know, so today is February 14th in the States. Happy Valentine's Day. What an awesome day to be acknowledging love, whether it's you acknowledging your loving thyself vibration, or whether you are engaged in a partnership and you guys are celebrating love that way, or if you're just with friends and loved ones, not just, but if you're with loved ones and friends and honoring Valentine's Day. I think it should be something that we do like on a monthly basis. Coming up in the New Earth reality that we have Valentine's Day, or at least an honoring of love at least once a month, and make it a holiday or something. In any case, so it's been an interesting week, I will say that. And